because your first question is, what's your favourite scary movie?
See, I'm not even like watch scary movies, to be honest. Not because I'm scared. It just doesn't. If it is to scare me, I wouldn't be like, oh, I can't wait to be shitting myself. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather watch something like hilarious or that's got like swords and things. So, God, favourite scary movie. The one that sticks in my head is like the Scream series, which was the first horror movie I ever watched when I was young. Was watching through them. So I think I'll go with that.
It's funny. There's about 3 different things that made me think of, because one was actually, funnily enough, the guy who asked your question referenced Scream as the movie that made him think of that question, which is quite funny.
Right.
And then I was going to say, yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I don't go out of my way really to watch scary movies. I just kind of I feel like if a movie happens to be scary that I like, that's great, but I'm not really like being a horror movie. I remember I watched I think it was The Conjuring, and like it was meant to be really scary, and I found that there's the jump scares. Obviously you can't not. I don't think any human being can just sit there like
yeah.
You could be the biggest guy in the world, like that happens.
Oh god, yeah.
But and I didn't find it too scary, and I wasn't too phased. But then I went to bed, and like I had a poster on my wall, and it fell off in the night. I was like,
yeah, okay, understandable. Yeah, yeah. Now I've watched like all the Paranormal Activities, and I'm just like, yeah, I can see why people would be scared, but I just don't. Nah.
Have you ever seen any movie that's properly shit you up?
There's things that make me go, oh, that's weird, but nothing's proper. Like, I'm trying to think now, but like the last scary movie I went to see was in the cinema, and probably last year. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was bigged up to be this really scary thing, and I was just watching it like, this is not scary at all. I literally sat there with my popcorn like, nice one. And I was really disappointed, but I have to know me because I can't. Antler, that's what it's called, Antler. It just wasn't scary at all. Yeah,
I don't know the name. The other one.
Go on.
Oh, just doubling each other now. The yeah, no. What I was gonna say, Hereditary was one that someone said to me is like well worth watching, and I watched it. I just didn't get it.
No, I've not heard of that one, to be fair. But yeah, it's horror films. I'm just like, meh, whatever. I come and go. I'll watch it if there's a lot of us and they're like, oh, let's have a scary night. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'll never like, yeah, let's watch something scary tonight.
Yeah, it's weird because it ties in with like the kind of heavy metal stereotype. You know, if you had to pick like a movie type, like a clothing style, you know, it is the thing you'd pick for like heavy metal. But
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not like the amount of times where I was in a metal band not so long ago, and the amount of times people are like, "You don't look like you're in a metal band." Like,
I get that. They're like, it's like you're such a chilled person normally, and then but then you go and do your music, and you're like this angry person. Like, I'm not angry. It's just loud. So yeah, I get the you're like a different person when it comes to music, which I understand because I'm quite reserved and I'm very laid back. But yeah, as soon as music hits, I'm like, roar.
I feel like this is sort of quite a deep question, sort of straight away. But with what you're saying about being quite a reserved person, and then this music being obviously quite like out there, and like, you know, when you compare it to your standard music, pop music, and kind of like chart stuff, do you feel like that's sort of an outlet for like a more kind of real? Like a more real version of you kind of thing, without sounding too sort of corny with that.
It's an outlet to release, isn't it? And I think music is an outlet for everybody in that sense, whether you're listening to it, performing it, or whatever. It's definitely it's a good outlet for anyone. And for me, yeah, probably right. I do let a bit of me out on stage, but I'm not me when I'm not in music. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I wouldn't if I've got problems, I kind of just keep them to myself. Right? If it's in music, it's lyrics, therefore they're portrayed through music. Do you know what I mean? So I am still me. It's just different ways of releasing things.
Yeah. And do you choose to kind of, because lyrics are always something that kind of intrigue me, because I think they're just such a window to the soul, and it's just an interesting I think it's a bit like, because I'm a guitar player, but I have written a lot of lyrics, and I did for my old band. So like, I feel like asking a vocalist about lyrics is almost a bit like asking guitarists about their guitar tone, but it's kind of not, because lyrics branch out into so many other kind of topics of conversation, and like give a much greater idea of what you're like as a person than, say, if I told you about what guitar tones I like and stuff. So like, what kind of stuff inspires you when it comes to?
Well, it's bad because with InVisions, I haven't wrote too many of the lyrics. Lucas kind of just sits in his room, he writes a song, and then he gets on with it, and then we all put our 2 pence in afterwards. But in my old band, I wrote a lot of the lyrics for that, and it's crazy. Like, one of the songs I got inspiration from to write lyrics from was Amazing Spiderman.
You have to elaborate on that one.
Yeah, so it was, you know, Electro? How he was working as a janitor in the building, and then he fell into he was like a nobody, if you will, but he wanted to be a somebody. So he fell into the tank of eels, didn't he? He got all this power, and he was like, it's time for the world to know who I am. So it's kind of like doing bad things for your name to be, for people to recognize who you are. And that's what I got a lot of inspiration from my lyrics from that. Being a nobody, wanting to be somebody, but nobody knowing who you are. So you do bad things for people to recognize you.
There's so much. I mean, there's so much of that. Like, not even inherently bad things, but just like, but not positive things. There's so many people. I feel like you only have to go onto TikTok for about 10 minutes to see like some of the garbage. You know, like people trying to be somebody. For it's funny. Sometimes I kind of if I'm ever like just scrolling through TikTok, I kind of, that one of the few regrets I have about doing the podcast is I post reels on TikTok, and then every now and again I just find myself like just scrolling.
You get like lost in it,
yeah. And I don't often catch myself but like every now and again I'll watch a video, I'm like, this is so pointless, you know, like
yeah.
And I feel like there are a lot of people out there just kind of vying for your attention, but not for anything good. Just
so that's what social media has done, hasn't it? Really, let's be honest. It's a massive thing. Everybody needs social media for like businesses and whatever, but a lot of people these days want to be influencers for the wrong reasons, and so you just find yourself in a loop of seeing the same stuff that people have already done, and it's worked for them, so people are trying it because they want it to work for them, and it's just like boring.
Yeah, I was toying with the idea because I'd like to start another band at some point, and possibly off the back of building the podcast to the point where it kind of can give some legs to any band that I start with. And I was just toying with the idea of like, would it be possible to just not do social media, but still advertising? It's still like there's a million ways you can advertise stuff that's not social media. And like, rather than, there's a lot of faceless bands like Sleep Token, and Slipknot were for a while, but then there are quite a few enough anonymous bands out there. They've all got social media. It's like almost with the flip side of that work, where everyone knows who you are. You're not trying to hide who you are. No, the band are not mysterious or anything. You just don't have social media, so then the buzz almost comes from like, not who are these people, but like,
seeing you live for like the first time and like, oh my god, never heard of these are wicked. But then after that they're going to be like, I really want to go on social media and see you. So it's going to be like,
I don't know if it would work or not. I think you almost have to have the name before you do that, which is it's like Tool did it with Spotify, not going on. They weren't on Spotify for ages, but it's like, well, you're Tool, you can do what you want.
Literally. You don't want to, fine. Whatever.
I'll pay you anyway. Can't argue with Tool fans anyway. I think they're I'm a Tool fan, but not that much of a Tool fan. But like, so the something it kind of, again, another thing, there's certain topics I always find interesting, particularly with like the UK scene. A question I kind of not had the chance to ask anyone, and I feel like your band's situated in the right place to sort of ask this question, is like, in terms of the UK metal scene versus, and not just scene, but actually like music, like UK metal music, do you feel like it differs from the stuff you've seen when you've been abroad, or like do you feel like there's a UK sound, if you like, or a UK style? Because it's hard to pinpoint, but
yeah,
I feel like there's certain trends I recognise, and not in a bad way. It's trends that I see in UK metal, you know.
I think with like UK sound, like a UK sounding band, you definitely, the first band you think of is Architects. That is definitely like a UK sound. With American sound, for me, if you think of America, you just think Amir, Chelsea Grin, stuff like that. That's the two very different sounds, but it's very like, as soon as you listen to Architects, British band, I think that's because of how big they are, you just know it, because a lot of people know where they're from. But when we were talking, me and the boys, we were like, Architects have like a UK sound. They're like leading the UK British metalcore with that sound, and which they are, because there's a lot of new bands that want that sound, if you know what I mean. But in terms of like the scene, the UK has a good scene, very good. We've just had our most successful UK tour actually with the Oceans Boys. That's the most successful the UK tour we've been on. I know we've been around since 2016, so it's a long time to say that, but after COVID, I feel like it's like people want to get out a bit more. But Germany's scene is absolutely unbelievable. The shows over there are just, you can guarantee every night you're gonna have like an insane night. It is so good.
Do you think they top our scene in terms of like live shows? It's a difficult question because you kind of, I know you might feel like a bit of a traitor, but
they're very different. So like, yeah, probably in terms of how insane they are, but they show like their way of showing passion is probably different to how the UK would show it. They want to go to a show and they just lose their mind, swinging around, hurt themselves, whatever. But a UK passion is like they want to sit and listen and enjoy it. So it's very different to how people react. I mean, if you go to a Malevolence show, then there's nobody stood still. It's a bit different, isn't it? But it's different. So you expect a different thing when you're playing a show in each of the countries.
Yeah, I've never. Well, actually, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times. My old band, but the only place I've ever played other than the UK is in Ukraine.
Right,
we got offered a tour like 3 years ago or something. We're just like, yeah, I'll take it. So weirdly, that's the only comparison I have. It was a very unusual scenario, and obviously, it wasn't recently. That wouldn't have worked. But I have found that I know what you mean. There's quite a lot of people. I feel like feel like I have the sort of the fan equivalent of like resting bitch face, because I quite often stand there with my arms. Yeah. I am enjoying it. I hope I don't look like I'm not enjoying it. That seems to be what I do in the crowd. But you touched on earlier saying that you're kind of like a sort of I know you said you're kind of reserved in some ways. Is that like, do you feel like that affects your, or maybe in the past has affected the live performance aspect? Because I know for me, I've had a lot of people, especially when I was starting, saying like, you got to move around more, or you got to like do this, that. And especially if you're like right at the front, you know, there's a lot of eyes on you. Has that ever kind of affected you, and how has that kind of changed?
No, because when I've gone onto stage, I've always had the thought that people are here to watch us, they want to have fun, and if they see us having fun, they're going to have fun. So it's a performance, isn't it? So I've always had the mindset that I'm going to go out there and have fun, and then it's reciprocated. But for me, it wasn't ever difficult to do that, because I just love the music so much, and adrenaline kicks in and all this. So it was never difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. But it was never difficult to go up there and lose my shit, because it's a good time. I just love it.
So you don't have trouble sort of like being yourself when it comes to just hopping on stage?
Nah, it's like a release, in it. It's just it's me. It's what I'm here to do, and I'll keep going.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's good. I think it's good to find that what's the word? Sort of tranquility and kind of like comfort in just being up there, like, because I think there's a lot of people. I don't feel uncomfortable now. You know, if I go, I might feel a bit rusty at the moment. I haven't played live for quite a while, but I don't feel uncomfortable on stage, but I don't think I'm not the kind of guy that's spinning around in circles, you know, like kicks and shit like that. I just don't think that would ever be me. And I'm trying to, I think the thing I'm trying to do is find what my sort of natural, you know, comfortable performance sort of is. Because like I'm not that guy. I don't think I would ever be that guy that's like spinning around, you know, whatever. But then you don't want to just stand there, you know.
No, you want to look like you're having a good time.
Yeah, I had one guy sort of mention to me, he's like, dude, you got to move around more. And it's like, well, I remember when Nuno Betancourt from Extreme did a talk at my uni. I went to BIM in Birmingham. Do you know BIM?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did a talk there, and he was saying like one of the worst things is when people are faking it, you know.
Exactly.
And I feel like I don't know if you know, when you see it, when you like, you can see it in someone's eyes. It's like, you're not doing that. You see it again. TikTok is another one where you see it, where it's like, you don't believe in, you know, what you're doing right now.
You're not doing that because you want to. You're doing it because you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
And you're not being you, and people have come to see you. So
yeah, it's almost like a bit of kind of it's like they have come to see you, you know, like you don't have to do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Although some people fake it till you make it. I don't know.
I mean, that is a saying. Yeah, stick a leather jacket on and hope for the best, but we'll see.
I think that's what you're saying.
I'm not like I don't spin round, but I'm 6'3". I'm a big guy. Spinning round, I'll fall over. It just wouldn't happen. But yeah, I can't. The only time I really stand still is if I know that I've got like a bit of a difficult vocal bit coming up, and I really need to hit something. That's when I stand still and I think about what I'm doing. But other than that, I'm just like, let's have some fun.
Yeah. This is kind of the equivalent of like the sort of, if you ask a footballer, like, what's better, a good goal or a good tackle? Do you prefer a good harsh vocal or a really good note?
Give me a harsh vocal all day, every day.
Nice. Okay. So like, are you, because like, you know, when you're talking architects, you've got your Blegh.
Yeah.
What's like the most satisfying, you know, for anyone listening? I just kind of went, I don't know,
raw
kind of noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to do it now.
No, but my one is it's just a really low scream. More like a guttural sort of thing. You nail one of them, you know it's going to be like a yeah, nice. Yeah, I feel that. One of my favourite ones. He's not the most popular fella in the world, but Phil Anselmo in Cowboys from Hell. There's one he does. It's one of those inhale ones, and some people are like, I don't like that, but I'm just like, I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me. Like whatever works in it, sort of situation.
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of you hear some crazy noises nowadays if you listen to like Lorna Shore or something.
That dude is insane.
Yeah. Go on.
I just don't know where it comes from. Like it literally blows my mind. And I saw that video of him recently where they had a camera down his throat while he was doing it, and I was like, what the hell is happening? It was so cool.
I think that what I found interesting is like there was a little moment, I might be wrong, but it looked like I've seen this, I know which video you're talking about, and it looked, they put the camera down his throat and it looked a bit like, so he did a certain type of noise, I can't remember what it was, and he sort of adjusted it by looking. It looked like he'd sort of looked at the video and said, oh, I'm going to change that slightly. I was like, what? How do you know?
It's insane. It's so weird. I just props to the guy. He's an absolute beast.
I mean, like for me, so because I'm kind of the other way around to you. I'm always drawn to I'm more drawn to a good note than I don't know. It depends what kind of. Depends who I'm listening to, I guess, what mood I'm in. In terms of certainly my own writing, I like to have clean vocals over the stuff that I write. How do you kind of go about getting that, picking how you're going to like articulate harsher vocals? Because there are some bands I hear, I mean, I have to say, probably not the most exciting ones, where it feels a bit monotone, and then there are some where they have these good kind of level. Like if you listen to Lorna Shore, it goes right from your gutturals up to your super high stuff.
Yeah.
How do you kind of pick what's right for the moment in the song?
It goes on feeling. So you can listen to the song and you've got your lyrics, and it depends on how you want to execute. But and then it goes on how the lyrics make you feel in that time as well. So you can have like a nice little a riff where you'd have like a rah, rah, more like a Fry type scream. But if you know it's going to hit down into like a breakdown sort of chuggy bit, you're going to want to hit it low, because then it spreads the adrenaline to the people listening. They're like, oh yeah, it kind of flows with it. If you've got more of a riff, you can mix your high screams, low screams. It's just, it goes on feeling.
Yeah, I kind of, that's the kind of impression I got. Do you find, are you more tempted to match, like, if the guitars go low, you go low, or do you feel like
sometimes, yeah, but you can have a nice little chuggy breakdown and like do a super high scream on it. It just goes on what you're feeling. Like Lucas has demoed some bits to me before, and I've been like, you need to do that as a guttural rather than a high, because it'll flow better and it'll sound better going in. But that was going into a riff. So it just all depends on your feeling when you're listening to it and how you think you would sound doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I would sound ridiculous because I have no capacity. It's one, you know, that Jared Dines video when he goes around asking people like, what do your best metal scream? They kind of go, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, is it easy? That would
Not
be
for me.
Yeah.
It's a strange vocal thing to do. I don't know if it's not. Is it singing? I don't know. Is it classed as singing?
How much of a snob do you want me to be?
Hit me.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I think it qualifies. No, I'm just saying. Yeah, you get the snobs kind of being like, oh, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
No, I can appreciate. Like, I love Gojira. I feel like that's a really great mix of.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, when you can just hear the note like peeping out, but like it's very hard.
Yeah.
That stuff. But like, what do you think? Maybe. What do you think is kind of next for, like, not just vocals, but actually just like modern metal? Can you see anything coming through that you think, that might be the next thing that we start to hear more of?
What I'm enjoying at the minute is seeing a lot more female-fronted bands. Say like Future Palace. They are so. I don't know if you've heard them or not.
No.
They're managed by the same managers, and they are just so unbelievable. They are literally insane. You've got Blind Summit as well from I think they're around like Manchester, Sheffield way, somewhere like that. Female fronted, absolutely unbelievable. And it's so good to see. And obviously we've just been out with Spirit Box and whatnot, and again, absolutely insane. That's what I'm enjoying seeing come through at the minute. A lot of female fronted bands.
Yeah. You probably would have liked my old band then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, they're still, to be fair, they're still going, so you can have a listen, see what you think. But to be fair, I feel like there are more women kind of coming through. I guess it's just becoming more. I guess just more normal in society. You know, where your stereotypical metal fan, like even maybe 20, 30 years ago, was, you talk about put your leather jacket on, it's like your bike.
Yeah.
So like, whereas I feel like the metal fan is kind of changing. You're seeing a different audience in these crowds, and I find there are lots of bands that I go and see where there like might be a younger audience, as well.
Yeah.
Like when you think metal fans, you think stereotype, you think like the big
course,
like with his motorbike and that.
I get asked a lot by people that aren't in metal. They're like, oh, I want to come to your gig. I was like, all right, yeah, that's fine. Just come along. And they're like, do I have to wear like really tight black jeans, black eyeliner? I'm like, literally, wear what you want, by the way. Just do what you want. But that isn't what everybody wears these days. It's more like baggy t-shirts. It's
a weird. It's funny. I find if you go to like any rock or metal bar, you can kind of wear whatever you want. Like you could wear like a rock and metal thing, or you could kind of just turn up. I could turn up in this jumper and just like,
for sure,
whatever. And I feel like did you feel like it's kind of when you stepped into for the first time like the UK metal community, did it feel like a welcoming scene, or did it feel difficult to kind of get in? What was like your experience?
I love the scene. I've never had any issues in terms of like appearance with anybody. I know my appearance isn't as I don't know what to say really, but I'm kind of like basic in what I wear. But there is people that really express themselves through what they wear, and everybody just loves it. It's such a welcoming community. I don't think there's any issues really. It's a good community to be a part of for sure.
Yeah, I was chatting to who was it? That was Charlie from As Everything Unfolds, and she was sometimes some of the less welcoming ones are actually the older ones. If anything, so that some of the younger people don't really give a shit. You can kind of do whatever you want. Yeah, you wear what you want, do what you want, say what you want, sort of thing. But yeah, to be fair, that is fair. But they're the ones that have been through metal through the year and kind of like growing up with like Iron Maiden and stuff, where it is your battle jackets, your boots and stuff, and that isn't. You don't really see that too much now. Yeah. Do you? So talking about like these older bands and stuff. I know a lot of. I sometimes feel almost a bit of almost like you have to kind of, be aware of all of these older bands and stuff. Do you listen to much of the older kind of classic rock and metal stuff, or not so much?
Not so much, really. I mean, Alex, our guitarist, absolutely loves Iron Maiden. But for me, it's like in my own time, to be fair, I very rarely listen to metal. So I listen to a lot of hip hop. My favourite artist, NF. To be fair, I don't really listen to it because my life is surrounded by music so much. When I've got some downtime, I'm just like silence. It's nice. And when we're on tour and I'm listening to, if I've got my headphones and I'm listening to the waves, like this got waves sound or whale sounds in my ears, so it's just a nice way to just chill out, relax, and just kind of escape from everything that's going on around you.
So yeah, I can totally. I can totally see that. Like I was saying to someone else that my Spotify listening at the end of the year is always quite low compared to what you'd think it might be. Like I take guitar as well, so like in theory my listening hours should be quite high. But because there's so much music, I play guitar and write music, teach guitar. It's like sometimes I just want to, like if I'm in the car, I might just not put music on and just drive. Just because like you just sort your life problems out, don't you? You start thinking more, and you've got time to think. But like, if I'm in the car, if I'm not listening to Bad Omen's new album, I'm chilling. I've got nothing on. What's the best car bop?
Car bop. It's Just Pretend at the minute from Bad Omens. In fact, that whole album is just unreal. I can't get it out of my head at the minute, so I'm trying to like not ruin it for myself by over listening to it. But it's that album is just insane. Yeah. So what kind of? Huh? I was gonna say Noah's voice is just amazing.
Oh, shout out to them. Whether this will be your artist, you reckon? You've already dropped a few artist names throughout this podcast, and obviously I said to you, we've got to pick one at the end. So I'm going to make you pick one later, but you got time. But yeah, so obviously one part of that question was like, going back a little bit, was like, what do you think's next? And you talked about like female fronted metal and stuff. What do you think? What are you excited about for your own? Like your own music, and for you personally, sort of in your sort of music career, what are you excited about and looking forward to doing?
So for us, when we think about music, like our albums, our releases, our music videos, we always have we do it as like a bucket list. So we always think, what do we want to do? So like in our Dope music video, we're all underwater and playing underwater, and it's like, right, that's off our bucket list. We can say we've done that now. But like, I think for us next, it's to explore more places we haven't played yet, go to different countries, but go over to Japan, hopefully do more of the Europe, hopefully eventually get over to America, whether it's next year or the year after, it's going to happen. But that's what we want to really try and push over the next couple of years, is just exploring more places, playing shows more, and revisit old places that we've been and really enjoyed, like Germany, Czech Republic, all places like that. It's just yeah, that's what our main focus will be.
I feel like that kind of graduating from like the UK scene into sort of the international, I mean the international scene's kind of infinitely large, isn't it? But like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Kind of that step out of like, do you feel like, do you feel like your mindset sort of changed at all when you started going beyond just playing like local shows and sort of even just sort of some like UK cities and stuff? Do you feel like the way you approach and the way you feel about kind of what you're doing, did it feel like that changed when you started to branch out and get into these kind of European shows and things like that?
A little bit, yeah. So when we started InVisions, the one thing we said is that if we're doing this band, we are doing it properly. And that mindset's never changed, because everything we've done it to the best we can. And if we haven't, we've made up for it, sort of thing. So if we've like dropped in quality in merchandise because we needed to get it out, we've made up for it. So being 100% has never changed. But when you've played out of your country, there is a thirst for more, for sure, because that means there's just more places to visit on the horizon. So it's more of it can be a personal thing, but it's also, as a business point of view, it means that we can play to more people. The more people we meet is better for us. So it definitely helped expand the love and the passion. But a lot of it was there when we initially said we're going to do this band, but we're doing it like 100%.
Is it like daunting at all, the kind of, when you start to play, especially like festivals and stuff, when you're playing to like thousands? I know you said you don't get like nervous on stage or anything, but like on a more personal level, do you ever kind of get that? I know I've talked to a lot of people about things like imposter syndrome and that kind of, you have these big shows, you're like, are we going to be good enough for this? Are we going to like, are people going to like it? Or are you kind of comfortable? Because I know I feel like I've spoken to people at both ends of the spectrum where some are just totally zen about it. And it's like, yeah, well, this is like what we're doing and people like it. And then people are like, why am I here?
It's one of them. So when we got Hellfest in France and we were playing main stage,
that's huge. Yeah.
We turned up and we were like, we literally have no business playing on that stage at all. We walked up to it and we were just like, what the fuck are we doing here? And I walked on stage and I was like, I get nervous before shows, but like not to the point where I'm like getting in my own head or whatever. But before this, my mouth was dry, my tongue was like sandpaper, and I was like, oh my God, like it was weird. Like, yeah, definitely got the imposter syndrome there for sure. Because yeah, we could probably have played it, but a few more stages down for sure. But yeah, we got there and we were just like, what is happening? Why are we here? But we loved it and it was so good. The show was insane. The people were amazing. Everything was it was the best day for us and our crew. Everybody just loved it.
Is it when you kind of tick those, I know you talked about bucket list stuff, but when you tick those bucket list items off, are you good at sort of taking in the moment and being grateful for that stuff? And like, it sounds like you are, from just
100%. Yeah, we were traveling home and we spoke about it for days, just like how it was just the best day ever. We all want to relive it as soon as possible, and we are grateful for when we get opportunities like that, because for a lot of people it doesn't come round that easy. And we've worked so hard, but all these EU festivals came in at once and we were just like, yes, because we were out on tour anyway, so we were just extending the tour. And but it was like mad, because it kind of all happened so quick and we were just like, what is going on right now? This is just insane. So yeah, we are very grateful for everything that got chucked at us this year, for sure.
Yeah. It's I feel like it's that, could you pinpoint a moment where you felt like you went from kind of local band to like, oh, hang on, we're doing some bigger stuff now?
It's kind of never really, I don't know, like hit me yet, because there's still a long way for this band to go. And so everything we do, we budget for it, we make sure we can do it. But there is points where I'm like, this is getting very serious for us now. I was in full-time work. I've had to leave full-time work and go part-time so that I can work, so I can literally be like, I need this time off so I can go off and do this. And then I was just like, it's going in from the transition to now that the band being full-time. Even though I don't know how long that transition is going to be, but it's started, and I'm just like, this is starting to take some traction now. And every time I think about the summer that we've just had and what we have planned for the future, I'm just a bit like, how it's surreal, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it's a scary thing trying to like transition into, so like for me, going from doing like bar work to trying to do the guitar tutor thing, which I now do, I was kind of a little lucky, or sort of, maybe not lucky's a word, but like when the pandemic came about, I was furloughed from my bar job, so I was like, well, this is the perfect time to start teaching, so I just did it online. So I kind of almost never had to balance that. So, well, I mean, I sort of did. There was a period when I still didn't have a huge amount of students and I had to do some bar work. Although with the way people's bills are going at the moment, going back to that, who knows?
Yeah.
Are you ever worried about that kind of like that transition into full-time band, or sort of transitioning into full-time band work?
Massively, mate. Yeah. Because leaving like full-time employment, that's a guaranteed income. So now I've gone like, it's not so much part-time. I'm self-employed now, but I'm working for my friend. So I can just say to him, I need this off. But whatever I take off at the minute, that means I'm not earning. So that means I've got the bills and that I need to worry about. Prior to that, I've got my partner. Obviously, I can't just rely on her. So it's at the minute, it's very stressful. It is a really stressful and scary, but it's a risk that we've both said that we're willing to take, because we've worked on this for so long. I've been in music for over 10 years now, and it's finally starting to show its worth or whatever. So I'm not gonna chuck away the 10 years of hard work that personally I've put in for it to just be like, nah, I can't now because I've got a house I need to pay for. So it is scary, but we're going to work it out and we'll make sure it works.
Yeah, there's that like kind of, I feel like that sort of will work it out mindset can carry you quite a long way.
Yeah.
I've said to some people before that like my, I was talking about like imposter syndrome and stuff. My mind is almost sometimes the other way around, where I'm like, if it doesn't work out, I'm kind of like, what? I deserve that to happen though, So it's like I feel like I have that, but sometimes a bit to the degree where I'm like, okay, I got to rein that in a bit, and like there's self-belief, and then there's just like, hang on a minute, you got to frame it the right way, otherwise you just end up feeling like you're sort of deserving success in every regard all the time, which is a tricky one. But it's funny because I always do a bit of a like flick through people's Instagrams and just to see what they're about before I chat to them, and I saw that you'd bought a house recently, as you mentioned just then, and something that people that I've come to appreciate more recently is actually, although that's not a little thing, I know it isn't, but it's like it's a life thing, isn't it? And actually appreciating things outside of music and career, and that has become quite a big thing for me, like trying to, because I think for me sometimes I could have loads of good luck in certain aspects of my life, like I've got a great group of friends and lots of things to be grateful for, but I could sort of disregard them because the music's not quite going how I want it to right now. So I guess it wasn't so much a question in that, really. It was more, how do you feel about that? Like, do you find that does that resonate with you at all, that kind of?
Yeah, for sure. But like, you'll have like, for me, music is my passion, my drive, I want it to be my career, and having people support you outside of that also keeps you grounded. If you feel like, I'm working my ass off, but nobody's giving me anything, you kind of get to a point where like, I deserve it, so you need to give me it. And it doesn't work like that at all. So if you surround yourself with like-minded people, like my partner keeps me very grounded. She's like, yeah, but keep going and whatever, don't just settle and whatever. So to be able to keep progressing with life outside of music and progress with music, it's winning on both angles, really.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more of an emphasis in all the people I've chatted to about like finding a balance. You know, do you feel like you've got a good balance in that regard?
It is really hard to find the balance. We play shows and we miss out on things that you would usually tend to have to be there for, and you've got to kind of come to terms with missing out on a lot. So finding a balance is hard, but when you find it, you kind of like, it's more like not finding the balance, but finding people that understand why you're sacrificing the things you do. So, and I'm at a level now where I don't want to, but I can sacrifice things to go and play shows somewhere if it means it's going to be a benefit to the band, because the people that I'm surrounded by will understand why I'm doing that. Yeah,
it's kind of hit the nail on the head of like, surround yourself with the right people, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's again something I've been trying to make sure I do more of, you know, kind of spending time with. It's crazy how I think I would always try and sort of push past it and be like, no, even though I'm surrounded by people that I don't want to be around, yeah, I can work through it though and make it happen. And it's just so like, not what's the word, kind of sort of, you feel quite deprived when you're not surrounded.
Yeah, and it's not good for yourself, and you got to think about yourself quite a lot, really, to be fair, because you've got to ensure that you're happy in doing what you're doing. But yes, certainly surrounding yourself with the people that fill you with confidence and are really behind what you're doing is very important.
Do you in terms of other, you say you've been obviously doing music for quite a long time now. Have you ever had to have you dealt with people like that at all? You know, the kind of people you don't want to be around? Or like, I mean, I know you said you found the scene very welcoming. Is it generally, have you come across those kind of people that have just dragged you down, or generally speaking, have you found the right people?
No, I feel like I've been quite fortunate, really. There have been people that don't understand what I was trying to achieve because of the music because it wasn't their scene. So they were like, it won't work out, just quit and concentrate on like a career. I'm like, I am concentrating on a career. This is my career for me. And they are still like, they're family friends but I've recently said, I can't believe I ever said that to you, blah, 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 and kind of take the piss out of themselves for it. But I've never been told, you need to do this or I'm gone sort of thing. I've fortunately never had that sort of situation.
Yeah, it's good to I suppose, what's the word again, being grateful for just having the right people around you, you know, like it's
for sure, yeah, 100%.
It's a tricky thing. I know so many people as well where they're in situations where I'm like, I know I've spoken to so many people in bands where something came up very recently actually where an example of people being in bands that's just like isn't positive for them at all, you know. And I think you almost stick it out because you think, this might be, you know, this might be it for me. This might be like my break. But I think like if you're not with the right people, it's just not. It's not going to.
Oh, for sure.
No, like, do you really want to have a break with the wrong people? You know.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but me and the boys, we're all the same, and it's a good. I'm in a good place with the boys right now, and it's really good. We're all got the same drive, and if we think anything's wrong, we're all very outspoken. So we'll say if anything, you need to sort of bring it down, which has never been the case. We've always been really level-headed and grateful for everything that we've got. That's why I think we're in a really good position with inside the band, because we're just like we're all best mates, brothers. I treat them as my family. I love them to pieces, and it's a good circle to be in.
Yeah, you think it'd be like the Rolling Stones, where like touring in your 80s, doing like maybe less. You said you're not jumping around like too much, but
yeah, for sure.
I have to rein it in, like it's a tricky balance to kind of find. But yeah, I mean, like going back to that kind of first thing I was saying, like, so you feel obviously quite like, I think the thing that I was kind of sort of, what's the word, kind of hinting at was this idea that like appreciating not the little things but like the other things in life, and it's, I suppose, when you've got the right people it makes that much easier because you're not worrying about, you know, like what they think about it. Because I don't know how many people you've had say to you, I've had this a lot, where they're like, you could basically trying to, what's the word, popify the music that you show them.
A bit more mainstream, yeah.
Yeah, I've had so many people where I play them, you know, some of my music, and they're like, oh, you know, if you just like backed off a bit there, or if you,
yeah.
I don't know if you've had that, but I've
had it, but it's like only from my grandparents. So they were just like, oh, you can sing, you just need to sing more. And I'm like, no, stop it. But they won't understand it as much as like now, because they grew up not listening to heavy music at all. So when they're like, oh, just sing more, get in touch with Simon Cowell, and I'm like, oh, stop. But that's it. Other than that, no, everyone's like, family-wise, friends-wise, they're completely 100% backing of everything I'm trying to do. And so I've had it really lucky, and I'm very, very grateful for the people I have around me.
Yeah, I remember my my grandma described our music as frenetic, which I didn't know was a word until she said it.
What does that mean?
I think it just means like sort of crazy and like all over the place, you know. Which, to be fair,
I like that.
I mean, from her perspective, I'm sure it was very frenetic. Yeah, sure. It's quite funny, and we've had quite a lot of people. Again, actually, I think a big part because we're a female-fronted band. I think a lot of people see a girl at the front of the band and go, "Oh, you've got to sing nice." You know, I mean, she did sing. There were a couple of harsher moments, but it was all sung. And there was a lot of push from even actually a label that approached us, where there was a lot of emphasis on her being the thing, and then the band is there, but like she's the thing.
She's the thing,
like the, you know what I mean, like the talisman of the
yeah.
But like there was a lot of emphasis from like potential fans, and then actually then from even like more serious labels and stuff, saying like, you know, about kind of commercializing what we had. And I don't think we would have had that had we been just like a male fronted metal band. You know, it was a weird one. Do you ever find that kind of things like, I mean, obviously I'm not going to ask you to go shitting all over management and labels and stuff, but have you ever had that kind of people pulling you in different directions musically, you know, like outside the band?
Not at all. No, I'm trying to think. No, not really at all, to be fair. The only one thing that anybody ever said to us really was our first, when we first got together, and we had a photo shoot where we were all like wearing, like we looked cool, and then we did a music video in black t-shirts, and they basically said, why have you gone from looking cool in your picture to looking shit in your video? And we were just, and that was our first taste of like being in the music industry, and we were just like, oh, we are gonna get it. But we were all right with it. We were just like, because if it's constructive criticism, so it's only ever going to try and point you in the right direction. But other than that, it's thinking, that's the only thing that really sticks out from what's been said. But that, again, that was more of like more constructive, like keep looking cool, you need to look cool in your videos, blah blah blah. Yeah,
we had one. So I kind of I don't want to say it, but I'm a little bit annoyed at the videographer for this, because we the first music video we did with him, it was a very dark room, and we were wearing black because we're like, oh, we're a metal band, you know, and he's like, you're just going to look like floating heads in this. And I'm like, why didn't you tell us this?
Yeah.
And then, so the second music video we did, no, sorry, the third one where we knew it was going to be dark, we're like, oh, we'll wear like bright, like not bright colours, but, you know, just like we won't wear black shirts. We'll just wear like kind of, you know. And then, of course, we were like, oh, we shouldn't really wear black shirts, should we? And he was like, no, I think it'll be fine. I'm like, what? And our drummer was wearing a like very white Hugo Boss jumper with Boss like right across the front, and it just put out like a sore thumb. And we spoke that video. It was just like, man, we sent it to someone like a potential manager, and he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look, you know,
it doesn't look great, sorry.
Yeah, basically the concept behind the video was cool, and three of us looked fine. You know.
Yeah, it's crazy how deep they go, isn't it, really? But again, you need to be, to what you are to a manager and a label, you have to be a sellable product. And image is a massive factor. A massive factor.
I feel like some people are very good at leaning into it, and some like I'm not terrible, but I think like I'm just like I just want to write songs, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
Out my image, I'm like,
yeah. So like when we're out and we're on tour, the boys are in like they've got the jeans, the jackets, they look cool as fuck all the time. But I'm like, if I'm traveling for 4 or 5 hours, I want to be comfy as fuck. So I'm sat there, I've either got my Under Armour shorts on or my joggers, my hoodie. If it's too cold, I'm just sat there in my hoodie, my really baggy jumper, and I'm just like, I'm chilling. But like as soon as it's like stage, then I'm like, yeah, okay, now I need to put the image on, or whatever you want to call it. And but yeah, I'm very like, I want to be really comfy.
You're not going to the shops in like
no, mate, I don't put my my skinnies, my necklaces on and all that just to go and get some milk.
Yeah, I always wonder. I want to know what you think, because I always wonder. Obviously, with the podcast, you only see like. I mean, I'm going to sort out a proper background, and I need to upgrade this camera and stuff. But you know, money.
Your setup is a lot better than mine at the minute, mate. I've got my Xbox headset on and on my laptop.
Remember that? But yeah, like I want to, and I do wonder like how much it matters. Silly things like, I mean, and this isn't stuff I particularly care about. It's more just I'm interested. Would it make much difference if I always wore, you know, like a black shirt and sorted my hair out so it's a bit more like
exactly like
prepared myself more for this podcast? I kind of wonder if that would make much difference or not. I don't know if it would.
I guess for me it was like I was thinking before this. I was like, I can't just wear like a comfy hoodie and just slouch in my chair. I mean, at the end of the day, all I've got on is a red Six Silk t-shirt, which shock, I'm wearing Six Silk because I do wear a lot of silk. I'm kind of like, I need to rein that in a bit. But it is for, I guess, from a musician being on a podcast, people are going to look at you and think, does he really look like it? Does he look like he's in a band, basically? So you need to have the image of like you're in a band, because the people that are watching are like, oh, this guy must be really cool. And if they've never heard of us, they might be like, I need to go and check out their music now. So from our perspective, from like, I guess from like musicians, they do need to kind of look cool, but then again, they're at home, it's their own time sort of thing. So it's kind of like, do they take it easy or not? Do they just like chill out a little bit? So it's a weird one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've chatted to anyone. I don't think I've chatted to anyone in like full rock gear, you know.
Oh mate, below the surface, I've got my Adidas joggers on and my slippers.
you haven't quite got to the like suit on top, like, like
yeah.
Oh yeah,
not quite there yet.
Well, on that kind of rather serious note, so what I need to do is ask you to get a question for the next guest, and it can be whatever kind of, you can judge the vibe of everything I've said and decide what you think would be an appropriate question for the next person. I was going to say I won't tell you who they are. I don't actually know right now because my calendar jumps around so much. So to be honest, I can't help you anyway. So yeah, if you have a question in mind, or if you can think of a question for the next person, that would be great.
And it can be
absolutely anything.
All right, I'm going to go with a common one. If you had to eat one thing that was going to be your last meal ever, what would it be?
Okay, yeah, the last meal. I don't think I've had the last meal question yet.
There you go. And I love food, so what would their last ever meal be?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I always wonder, like, do you go just like satisfying Domino's pizza, or
I don't rate a Domino's pizza.
So I've got one. I mean, I strongly disagree, but I might be eating cheaply so when I was on holiday, we went to it was in Venice. We went to this. Me and my girlfriend went to a really nice restaurant, and we went up to the bar, and we were both quite dressed up, and I think we probably looked richer than we are. And the guy was like, "What?" It's a steak. It was a steak place. It wasn't like super fancy, but it was pretty fancy, you know. And he said, "What wine?" We said we wanted red wine. He's like, "What wine would you want?" He brought us over to the cabinet, and we said, "Well, recommend one," and that was a mistake.
So that's your first error there, isn't it? Really,
€85 bottle of wine that we had. It was really nice. But yeah, and then I think the steak was, between the two of us, I think it was about 80.
Yeah, wow.
That was about the most
But to
expensive.
be fair, you've got to have nights like that because you enjoy it, a bit of time with your partner. It's just a nice way. You don't have to think, oh, I don't know if we can do this. It's just nice to have a night where you can just go, you know what, fuck it, have what you want, do what you want. Let's just do it.
Yeah, it was funny because we were sat next to this couple and they were like, oh, we just got our bill and it's just over €100, and we were like, oh, and they were just, because they knew we'd ordered this wine, and we were like, oh no. If yours is just over 100 for the two, yours is going to be, yeah. So it was, but it was nice. So
it's worth it, isn't it? Because now you're talking about it now, so it's a memory, isn't it? So you've created something.
There you go. You've proved the point. So
there you go. Exactly.
And so I also need you to recommend a band. I know you've already mentioned a few, but you could pick a different one if you want, for the sake of
so for me at the minute, it's Blind Summit. They supported us we did a UK run in December, and they supported us, I think it was in Manchester, and I'd never heard of them. It was like the case where we were talking about earlier, where you turn up, you don't know the band, you hear them, and you're like, wow, I need to check them out. And they were just outstanding, like in terms of the musicians. Female fronted, she has a very, very good voice, very good. The drummer is absolutely just insane. Like, he's just so good, and the bassist, the guitar, they're just all very, very good musicians. So for me, it's the guys over in Blind Summit for sure.
Wicked. And is there anything you want to? Sorry, I've just caught you after a tour. I was going to say, is there anything you want to promote?
We haven't got anything too much. We've got one, I think. Let me just check. I think we've got a festival next month. In Germany. I don't know how to pronounce. I think it's Crowdsalat Festival, but we'll be playing there.
I won't be typing that out.
Let me find the date. This is how unprepared I am.
This is a few weeks in advance, so you may well have already played it as well.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So where are we? Yeah, so it's the start of the 3rd of October. No, it's not. It's the 15th.
This will be out after that, so
I apologise. It's the 15th of October we play there. So yeah, we go over to Germany for Crowdsalat Festival. I think it's pronounced like that. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. But other than that, we have a lot of downtime, so we're going to do some writing, see where we go. Got a couple of things that were happening in the pipelines that are huge for us, so can't say too much now, but hopefully in the near future we can.
Nice. Wicked. Well, thank you very much.
No, I appreciate your time, mate. It's been great.
You too. Wicked. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.